Welcome friends to another episode of Arthashastra Talks, wherein Team Arthashastra interacts with the legends of the industry who share their wisdom to help our investors take more informed investment decisions. Today, we have with us my dear friend Aashish Somaiyaa, Chief Executive Officer of White Oak Capital and asset management, a newly formed asset management company in India. Aashish has the long experience in mutual fund industry, almost 25 years now. He's with White Oak. Before that, he worked with Motilal Oswal for 8 years and ICICI Prudential. Aashish is one of the young Turks of the mutual fund industry who has a great knack of understanding the numbers and the economy, and he is one of the very bright prospects of the mutual fund industries. Welcome Aashish to Arthashastra Talks.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So Aashish, there is a flurry of new mutual funds coming up in India today, and yours is also one of the youngest ones. And this pace, the mutual fund industry seems to be growing at a very rapid pace, which is good for the investors in many ways. So they get the more variety or more funds to choose from. They get different ideas from different fund houses, different managements to look at, and which keeps the other mutual funds or everybody on the nimble footed. So at the end of the day, it is the win-win for the investors also. So begin with, can you throw some light on what is the long-term vision of White Oak and what is the strategy, how it is good for the investors?
Sure. So, Rajiv, actually, like you likely said, I completely agree that, new mutual funds coming is good for investors because it gives them choice. Second is that it reduces, the concentration in, few players.
Yeah.
And at the end also gives more choices, plus encourages a lot more competition.
Yes.
You mentioned that, I've been around for 25 years, so I can share a couple of snippets which I have seen. When I started my career in the late 90s, people didn't know what is a mutual fund.
Yeah.
And you were people didn't know what is a mutual fund. So someone like you who is talking to investors, you had to put a lot of effort to tell people what is a mutual fund.
To explain mutual fund.
To explain the concept, right? So I'm sure you recall that after lots of effort, after you have explained to someone what is mutual fund, finally the client would say, "Acha baba, abhi aap bol rahe ho to because you are saying I am doing it." And then, if the name of the company is recognized, then they will sign the dotted line. Okay, I know this fund, and aapne bola to ye company ka naam humko pata hai, kar diya. So previously the category was unknown. It needed a lot of convincing. And after a lot of convincing also, people would just sign if it was a familiar sounding name.
Yes.
Right. After that, you see in 25 years, there is so much of change that today, you just mentioned about that, we are involved in setting up White Oak Capital Mutual Fund, and, it's hardly started 1 year back.
Yeah.
The first scheme came 1 year back. Most of the schemes have come in the last 6 months, right? In 1 year itself, we now have almost like 165,000 unique investors.
Wow.
More than 100 crores coming in every month by way of SIP, STP.
Wow.
And 4,100 crores of assets. So this is not something I'm trying to say that see such a big assets. It's not about assets, but basically it tells you that today the big change is that investors have understood the category very, very well.
Yes.
Second, they know that this category is about ultimately delivering performance.
Yes.
And if performance is there, and if people get the belief that okay, these people are capable of performing, then people are willing to accept with open arms. And the name automatically gets built with the performance. Previously, what was there? You needed a name.
Yeah.
Now what has happened is that the name gets built depending on the performance, the communication, and the belief that okay, these guys can perform. So that I think is the biggest change in the industry. And this shows that with the efforts of all of you, the industry has become a lot more democratic, right?
Yeah.
Because it's, people are understanding the concept. The digital media has also made it more democratic. And net because of the performance orientation from the investors and the willingness to accept new people who can perform, it has become more meritocratic. I would say. And I think 40-45 AMCs is nothing. For a country of India's size, you are eventually going to find in hundreds the number of AMCs.
I think in US there is a huge number.
More than 1,000 actually.
Yeah. Great. So what is the strategy for investors which White Oak will employ?
So see, I think that, for any new company to be able to set up its place under the sun in the market, it needs to, I learned very early in life that there is no limit to being better than someone.
Yes.
Meaning
Excellence is a pursuit.
it's a yes, because the best can be better.
Yeah.
So this is not about being better. I think what is important to capture, a place in the minds of investors, advisors, MFDs, is that you need to be different. And difference can be created in 2-3 ways. One way to create difference is to have good execution. The second way to create difference is to bring about products that are more consistent. Because if you see in our industry, what happens is that consistency is lacking.
Yes.
Every second, third year, the best performing fund keeps on changing. So better execution, more consistency. And third, of course, differentiation can also come by launching products which are otherwise not available in the market.
Yes.
So as you go along, you will realize that, White Oak is actually set to be the first asset management company, the first Indian asset management company which is going to be a global multinational asset management company. Because you know that from our AMC in Singapore, we are already managing global equity, global emerging markets, multiple those categories we manage in which otherwise Indian managers are not managing. So I think we will try to differentiate on every front in execution, in consistency, as well as bringing products which are otherwise not available in the market.
Great. Aashish, the second question, which is the top of the mind with the investors today, is the stock market has risen quite high. It's almost at the all-time high. And the main question on the investors' mind today is that should they book profits, or should they remain invested, or should they add more? So is there a real story in India growth story, or is there more steam left in India growth story?
So see, if you talk about markets going high, right, I would like to, bring for clients' attention, a couple of things which are very important. See, first thing which is extremely important is that when you talk about new highs, you'll be surprised to know, and I'm sure our listeners will be also maybe a bit surprised to know, almost every 15 to 18 months, market makes a new high.
Yes.
Okay, so let's say we are talking in August 2023. Just some time back, we saw 19,900 kind of level.
Yeah.
Let's say for this year, the high is 19,900. In November 2022, or maybe end of October 2022, it touched roughly 18,900. Before that, the new high was October 2021. It touched 18,490.
Yeah.
Before that, November 2020 is the first time it crossed 12,500. But then Feb 2020 was a new high. Before that, 2019, not really, but in 2018, I think 11,000 was.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to tell you is that every 15 to 18 months, and you mentioned about India's growth trajectory, we are in this market because it is making new highs every 15 to 18 months. It is nothing else but a reflection of the economic prowess and the growth potential. That is one. So first is every 15 to 18 months market makes new high.
Yes, great.
Second, every calendar year, at least once, market falls 10-15%.
Yes, that is also.
And every calendar year, at least once, from some point, market goes up by 15 to 20%.
Correct.
Okay, long period average comes 12-13%, but that 12-13% is made as an average of extremes. So in any given year, market going up 20% or falling 10-15%, not new. So what I'm trying to tell you is that if today market is close to all-time high, it's nothing. So what? It happens every year.
It's just a number.
It's just a number. It happens every year. Your and my age is making new high every year. Our GDP is making new high every year. The total EPS of Nifty companies tends to make new high almost every year. Sometimes it may be plus minus, but ultimately it's making a new high. So I think these are normal par for the course. In fact, we are excited about investing in India because we know it will keep making new highs. What else do we need?
Great. Aashish, you have recently done a very interesting presentations, just extending to what you are saying. Winners rotate.
Yeah.
Okay. Where you have mentioned that investors choosing funds purely based on past performance may not be the right way.
Yeah.
Can you just elaborate on that something?
So actually, two things why which came to my mind. First is that when we say that past performance is not an indicator of future,
Yeah.
it's a subjective statement. ठीक है, बोल तो दिया मतलब इसका मतलब क्या है? तो we should check with data.
Yeah.
And what the data suggests is that if you take any 3-year time frame, say 2010 to 2012, 2011 to 14, 12 to 15, 13 to 16, take any 3-year time
Yes. Okay.
and say that let me find out which was take all large cap, mid cap, small cap, take all the diversified funds, multi cap, flexi cap, take all diversified funds, and say कि last 3 year में जो best performing था, I will invest in that.
Okay.
So what is the chance that in next 3 year also that will be best?
Best performer.
So the chance is not even 25%.
Yes. Okay.
Probability.
Only 25%.
Forget number 1 or number 2. I am telling you top quartile मतलब कि
Top
पिछले
25%.
3 साल में जो top 25% में जो फंड आया है, वो अगले 3 साल में top 25% में रैंकिंग आएगा.
25% chance. Okay.
The
Interesting.
correlation, a 3-year rank of last 3 years and 3-year rank what it will end up in the next 3 years. तो वो दोनों रैंक का correlation 0.1, 0.2 है.
Oh,
correlation.
which
Second thing is what you also see. So forget all this data and statistics. What you also see is that normally also, if you just follow fund house, fund manager, mutual fund scheme, you will find that every 2 years, the best performing fund house, the best performing fund, and the best performing fund manager, unfortunately, it keeps on changing, which makes life very difficult for someone like you and your investors also. कि भाई हर दूसरे साल अगर बेस्ट परफॉर्मर चेंज होने वाला है तो कैसे पता चले किधर पैसा डालना चाहिए. So it's very difficult. So what I've learned is that actually speaking, every and this is like right or wrong. It's not that after every 2-3 years fund manager forget their competencies.
their skill doesn't go away.
Skill can become unskilled. Doesn't. It's not true. They are all the same genius, highly intellectual, hardworking people. Even when they're performing well, I'm sure they're working from 8 in the morning to 8 in the evening. And even if they are unfortunately not performing, I'm sure they're working harder actually, not lesser.
Yeah. Harder. Yeah.
So what is the reason? And my learning is that if you see the stock market का एक नियम है कि बंद घड़ी भी दिन में 2 बार सही वक्त दिखाती है. What it means is that if you take the entire stock market, the best representative of stock market is BSE 500. BSE 500 is 96% of our market cap. Now, fund managers, when they are performing, outperforming, underperforming, what are they doing? They are competing against BSE 500, which is the broader benchmark.
Yeah.
वो तो लार्ज कैप करना, स्मॉल कैप करना, मिड कैप करना, ग्रोथ करो, वैल्यू करो, डिफेंसिव करो, सिक्लिकल करो, large cap karo, small cap karo, A sector, that sector, all these things are being decided. The fund manager is basically supposed to beat BSE 500, right?
Yeah.
Now what happens is BSE 500, if you see, that is what they're competing against. Now take an example. Any fund manager you meet, they're not buying the whole BSE 500. They're not covering every stock of BSE 500. What they'll come and tell you is that, Raju, I am somebody who believes in value.
Yeah.
Someone is a subset of value. They believe in contra. Some guy will come and say, I am a growth-oriented fund manager. Some guy will say, I buy cyclical company. Some guy will say, I am a small cap specialist. Some guys are saying that now domestic economy will do well and I will buy manufacturing. Some guy will say, no, I think mid-cap IT is good. So see, everybody has some preferred style, some preferred sectors, or some preferred market caps. So they will focus on what they prefer, or what is their
Core competence.
Or what they believe this is where the returns will come from. But what is the problem? The problem is that in the market, when macroeconomics change, the best performing style, sector and market cap changes. See, for example, when interest rates go up, small and mid cap tends to suffer.
Yes.
When currency appreciates, domestic companies do well. When currency depreciates, export-oriented companies do well.
Yeah.
When interest rate goes up, some type of companies will do well. When interest rate goes down, all the leverage companies and rate sensitives will do well. So what is happening is that nobody is investing in the whole market. Everybody is investing as per their style, sector and market cap preference.
Yes.
When the macros will change, somebody will be winner, and somebody will be a loser. And it becomes like almost like कभी जन्नत कभी जहन्नुम, right? Meaning अगर macro event कुछ होगा, कुछ चेंज होगा, तो पहले जो नंबर 1 था वो 10 पे भी नहीं रुकेगा, वो 20 हो जाता है.
बराबर.
और जो पहले 20 पे था वो अभी नंबर 1 हो जाता है. So you see 2016, 17, 18 the best performer, they didn't do well in 1920. The best performer of 1920 was somebody with defensive portfolio. They are doing badly very now. Very badly right.
Very badly, yeah.
And the guys who did very well in 21, 22, they were down in the dumps for the previous 5-7 years. Nobody even bothered.
Yeah.
Correct? So this is happening because people are managing portfolios which are centered around some component or some segment of the market, whereas market is very, very
Huge, large.
so I think that we have to be mindful that if we try to meet the market by fleshing out a very narrow part of the market, when that part of the market is in favor of the macros, we get massive outperformance.
Yes.
When the macro reverses,
Yes.
the outperformance will become
Underperformance.
So I'll just give you another practical example. We watch cricket, we watch T20.
Yeah.
If you say that I will invest only in this part of the market, ये market cap, ये sector, ये segment, मैं उतना ही करेगा. इसका क्या मतलब है? समझो कि T20 का जब टीम बनता है, if you make a T20 team, what you will do? You will basically have 6 batsmen. You will have 2-3 bowlers. You will have a couple of all-rounders. And generally you will find that the wicket-keeper is a batsman.
Batsman, yeah.
That is how T20 team is made. Instead of that, if I decide कि आज तो मैं टॉस जीत जाऊंगा और पहले तो मैं 20 ओवर में 300 रन ठोक दूंगा और जब न्यू वगैरह होएगा तो सामने वाले का ऐसा सोच के आप टीम बनाओगे तो आप क्या बोलोगे? एक काम करो, 8 बैट्समैन ले लो, 2 ऑलराउंडर ले लो, 1 विकेट कीपर.
हो गया. बॉलर
बना दिया अपनी टीम.
बॉलर की जरूरत ही नहीं.
अभी मैक्रो चेंज हो गया. समझो टॉस जीतने के बंदे आप हार गए, तो मैक्रो उल्टा पड़ गया. तो टॉस जीतने के बंदे आप टॉस हार गए और आप तो छोड़ो, सामने वाला आपको 300 रन ठोक दिया. अभी आपके पास बॉलर भी नहीं है. So basically, how is a T20 team made? It is made as a balanced portfolio. It is well rounded. It is prepared for all macro events. So generally what we find is that
There also best team loses so many times.
still it loses. So I think the point is that winners rotate because portfolios are fashioned to benefit in some circumstances, but they get out of the मैदान के बाहर हो जाता है under some circumstances. I think we need more people who will run broader, consistent, जन्नत जानूम नहीं होना चाहिए. If you're doing well, you are top quartile. If you don't do well, at least कम से कम बच्चे तो कैंक पर नंबर आवे ना.
So how should actually investors choose their funds and
Exactly.
what is the recipe for that?
Yes, I think that is most important. So I think what investors should look for is basically look for portfolios which are not very, very narrowly focused in some sector, theme, market cap. Not narrow. See, like BSE 500, the beta of the index is 1, which automatically means that the index is half growth, half value.
Yes.
So if I come and tell you I will only buy value and within value I will only buy contra, or if I tell you I will buy only growth and within growth I will only buy secular sectors. So if I say that, okay, the BSE 500 is 7% small cap, 15% mid cap and 78% large cap. So if I say कि अभी मैं पूरा पैसा small cap में डाल देगा, means you are ignoring 93% of the market and participating in 7% of the market. If you say I'm a value investor, you are only participating half the market and ignoring the other half. So basic idea from investors' perspective, if you want consistency, look for people who have broader, well-rounded portfolios which are participating in the broad market, which will do well when macros are favorable, but not get completely thrown out even if there is some macro eruption. I think that is the whole point.
Great. Aashish, you are great at numbers. According to you, what are going to be the 3 top drivers of the economy or the market for next 10 years and why?
So kind of you for telling me that, but if I tell you that, from an investor's longer term perspective, whether it is you, me, we spoke about why we are in this market, it's growth oriented. So from that perspective, one number to watch. See, every time we are watching, FDI money is coming, FI money is coming, foreigners are investing, India's Amrit Kal. Only one number to watch is that in any given year, how much is the growth of the global GDP?
Okay.
That's not the only number. Most important number is global GDP growth. How much of that growth is contributed by India?
Oh,
that is the most important driver of investment. See, because investment is always made where you will get returns. And returns are always made where there is growth. See, when companies declare results, we look for growth in earnings. We look for growth in margin. We look for growth in volume. So ultimately, if a company is growing, cash flows are growing, only then the market cap will grow, only then you will make an. And same logic if you apply at a country level, a country then attract investment only if it is going to show growth. That is one number to watch. And related to that number, the second thing is that growth is relevant only if it comes at scale. तो आपको मैं क्विकली इसका अरिथमेटिक बताता हूँ कि वर्ल्ड का जो जीडीपी है दैट इज $105 ट्रिलियन.
ओके.
कोविड के पहले होगा 94-95 ट्रिलियन.
ओके.
2019 के साल में कोविड के पहले वर्ल्ड का जीडीपी 94-95 ट्रिलियन पे आई थिंक इट ग्रो अबाउट 3%.
ओके.
तो आप सोचिए कि 94-95 ट्रिलियन के ऊपर 3% मतलब कितना इजाफा हुआ?
2.5 ट्रिलियन का.
वो 2.5 ट्रिलियन कहाँ से आया? Who contributed that growth? That is the most
important.
तो कोविड के पहले our GDP was 2.5 trillion.
Yes.
On 2.5 trillion we grew only 3.7%. मतलब हमारा ग्रोथ हुआ 100 बिलियन.
100.
तो वर्ल्ड का 2.5 ट्रिलियन का इजाफा हुआ, उसमें से हमारा योगदान कितना था? ओनली 100 बिलियन, मतलब के 4%. US which was 22 और 23 ट्रिलियन, उनका ग्रोथ 3.5% था तभी. तो 700 से 800 बिलियन यूएस ने दिया. चाइना विच वो 16 ट्रिलियन, वो 16 ट्रिलियन पे ग्रोथ 6%, मतलब 1 ट्रिलियन तो चाइना ने ही सहमत दिया. तो आप सोचिए कि 2.5 ट्रिलियन पे से 66 to 67% तो खाली 2 कंट्री होगा, यूएस और चाइना का 1.7 ट्रिलियन.
बराबर.
अभी नाउ इट इज नो वंडर ना कि वाई डॉलर इज द रिजर्व करेंसी, वाई एवरीबडी वाज इन्वेस्टिंग इन चाइना, वाई इट इज द बिगेस्ट ट्रेडिंग हब, ये सब क्लियर हो जाता है. और इंडिया का तभी 4% था. अभी आप देखिए 2022,
ओके,
पिछले साल, अभी का साल जो खत्म हुआ, तो 2019 में हमारा योगदान ग्लोबल ग्रोथ में था 4%. 2022 में इट वाज मोर देन 20%. क्योंकि हमारा जीडीपी हो गया 3.5 ट्रिलियन और 3.5 ट्रिलियन पे हमारा ग्रोथ आया 7%.
ओके.
तो उसमें हमने सीधा 250 मिलियन के आसपास ऐड हुआ और वर्ल्ड का ग्रोथ उतना नहीं था. तो हमारा कंट्रीब्यूशन हो गया सीधा 20%. नाउ पीपल हैव गॉट दिस सेंस दैट इफ यूरोप इज नॉट गोइंग टू ग्रो, इफ चाइना इज बिकमिंग अ ओल्डर कंट्री, पीपल आर एजिंग, they are facing structural issues because of their economy and politics. And US also is not expected to grow at this rate. So people are looking कि भाई ग्रोथ कहाँ से आएगा. देखिए 3.5 ट्रिलियन का इकोनॉमी जब 7% ग्रो करता है तो वो 250-300 बिलियन ग्रो करना है.
यस.
250-300 बिलियन ग्रो करने के लिए कितना एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेट होएगा, कितना क्रेडिट ग्रोथ होएगा, कितना इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर,
कितना कंजम्पशन,
हाउ मच पावर जनरेशन, हाउ मच कंजम्पशन, हाउ मेनी जॉब्स आर. That's a big number. See, there are many countries which may grow 6-7%, but if you're a $100 billion economy and you grow 6-7%, तो आप कितना ऐड करोगे? 6-7 बिलियन. अभी 6-7 बिलियन का ग्रोथ प्रोड्यूस करने के लिए कितना पावर, कितना क्रेडिट ग्रोथ, कितना जॉब, और 300 बिलियन ग्रो करने के लिए कितना पावर चाहिए, कितना क्रेडिट चाहिए, कितना स्टील चाहिए, कितना सिल्वर. So there it. So only one number to watch.
Great.
How much of the world's growth is coming from?
Really nice. Really nice.
अगर वो एक सिग्निफिकेंट नंबर रहेगा, 15%, 20% ऐसा नंबर रहेगा आने वाले फ्यूचर में, तो इंडिया विल ऑलवेज बी अ बिग इन्वेस्टमेंट डेस्टिनेशन. और आपको रोज शाम को आज एफआई का कितना आया वो देखना नहीं पड़े,
जरूरत नहीं है.
जरूरत.
Great. So Ashish, in the beginning you said about White Oak. So White Oak has a great pedigree about managing global assets, and especially with Prashant Kimka at the helm. How do you see the global uncertainties shaping up, especially the interest rate hitting hard to US and Europe? Europe की तो हालत और ज़्यादा ख़राब है. China slowdown. No other country, even Japan, is not growing at any pace. So no other bigger economy looks to be growing. And what is that mean for India, and how does it help India?
I mentioned you about growth and contribution to the world's growth. And I mentioned that, growth is relevant if it comes at scale. There's one other dimension of growth, which is that not only it is relevant if it comes at scale, also it is relative. मीनिंग के अगर एक क्लासरूम में या कहीं हम जाते हैं, एक थिएटर में जाते हैं, स्टेशन में जाते हैं, कहीं भी जाते हैं, हम बोलते हैं कि सब पिग्मी है. स्टिल द टॉलेस्ट पिग्मी विल बी कॉल्ड लंबू.
Yes.
Everybody is a pygmy, still there will be a tall pygmy. Right? So growth is also relative. So 2-3 things to keep in mind. That yes, you are right. That globally, if there is a slowdown, China is slowing down. If you see Europe, of course, is aging, right? And US is more cyclical, not structural. In China and Europe and some parts of the world, the degrowth or slowing growth is structural in nature. In US, maybe it is just cyclical. And US will always be the most dominant part because they are the world's, the fountain of all innovation and the fountain of all capital market is basically in US. So if all of these parts of the world are some structural and some cyclical, if they're going through some slowdown, then relative to that, India is a more attractive market. But if the world is growing and we are growing, then there is a tailwind. If the world is not growing, then there is some headwind for us. Definitely, no doubt about it. Right? It is a headwind for exports. It is a headwind for, say, foreign remittances. In some areas, it would be a headwind. But still, if you really ask me, this is what we're talking about headwinds, US raising interest rates, dollar becoming strong, Indian rupee fixing something down. I think these are cyclical, these are next 3 to 6 months. If you ask me over slightly longer period than the previous conversation we had about our growth trajectory, I think that is going to hold more weightage. You also mentioned about our founder, of course, he has been managing global money which is being invested into India. He has been managing it for 24 years.
Wow.
So he has a outside in perspective.
Yeah, that perspective is important.
He has been a global investor who's investing into India and in global emerging markets and in US. So he's invested all over the world. If you ask from that perspective, what my interactions with him and with, our other colleagues, what they tell me is that today, India has a very, very high share of top of mind of the people.
Attention.
For the reasons that we discussed. And one thing you should keep in mind that previously 80% of the money which came into India, it came as part of some basket, like global emerging markets, BRICS, Asia equity, global equity. But what I understand from talking to our founder and our team is that there are more number of people who are willing to invest in India individually, deliberately as a single country.
Wow, that is big.
By the by as part of some.
That is a big change. Yeah.
So I think that change is it's catching trend and it is likely to sustain. I think that is something
interesting, really interesting. Thanks. And finally, Aashish, how do you invest?
So I basically, if you really ask me, everything which is listed equity is everything in White Oak. So where I work is where I completely invest. All listed equity, everything is in White Oak. And if you really ask me personally, I invest only in 2 asset classes. And I think I would put this disclaimer that, what I am doing is not relevant for everybody.
Each person's risk profile is,
They should consult with you and determine what is right for them. But since the question is to me, I invest only in equity.
Wow.
And equity and real estate. But real estate also for me is a derivative or a surrogate for equity. Okay. Right? Because real estate is a factor of production. Correct? Commercial real estate, residential real estate. So I invest in real estate purely because it's a derivative of equity. If you are bullish,
both are growth assets.
Yes, both are growth assets. If you are bullish on economic prospects, if you are bullish on equity, you will be bullish on real estate. So I would say I invest only in these 2 asset classes, and in my allocation, they are like 50-50. I don't invest in debt at all. And if I have any temporary money, would be in liquid fund or something. But other than that,
great.
So this is my way of investing. But like I said before, may not be relevant.
It is risk profiling is the key thing. Yeah. Thank you, Aashish. Thank you, Aashish, for coming on Arthashastra Talks. Thank you.